It's just gone 8 minutes past 9, and I'm delighted to say Conor O'Brien is with us now, a former Leinster player. Conor, how are you?
I'm all good, yeah.
How does it sound when we're saying you're a former Leinster player at this point?
Bit unusual, I suppose, but it's nice knowing that I suppose I did get to play for Leinster. But no, it's a bit strange, I suppose. Life after rugby has been nice to me so far, but
yeah, what are you doing?
I'm working with a company called Tech Enable, so I'm sort of business development with them, and yeah, loving life, not being on a strict rugby schedule. It's nice change of scenery.
Yeah, did you have time to prepare for the fact that the end was coming? Because your injuries have been bad for the last couple of seasons, really. It wasn't like an injury that you did that was, okay, tomorrow they're coming to you and saying, okay, that's it. It was a long, slow, steady process.
Yeah, well, it slowly took away any bit of enjoyment I was getting out of it when all these injuries started coming around. So I suppose I had plenty of time to prepare for it, unfortunately. The first injury came over 2 years ago, just before COVID in Ospreys, and then it was just one after the other from there. It was 2 right hamstrings off the bone, and then I came back and did my ACL, and then got back for pre-season last season and tore my left hamstring off the bone. So
right.
Yeah, nice little concoction there. But yeah, no, the last, say, 4 or 5 months of last season, I sort of knew that it was kind of not getting much better. And
the hamstring,
my left hamstring, yeah. So it was just any time I went under any sort of like 0 to 100 sort of, like, you know, that sprint effort, accelerations, it was too sore, and I was re-injuring it, and it was grand, like, rehabbing it. I was able to, like, slowly progress up, but then when I went back to train, it just couldn't withstand it.
You were studying economics in UCD while you were still playing, so you obviously had one eye on the post-career, but that's something you were probably going to be doing anyway. Yeah,
like, they're very good in, like, Leinster and Ireland in general for getting you ready for life after rugby. So I was able to, I first of all went to Trinity when I left it would have been 8 years ago now, and I was living in Clontarf. I was studying in Trinity, and I was in the sub-academy in Donnybrook. So logistically it was a bit of a nightmare. So when I got into the academy, I moved to UCD into economics, and then I actually moved in with Will Connors and Jimmy O'Brien in a house beside UCD as well. So I had everything right beside me.
Zero crack, I'd say.
It's terrible. But no, I've been living with the 2 lads there for the last 6 years. I only moved out a couple of weeks ago back to Mullingar. So it was sort of, pardon?
Total emotion moving out.
Total emotion. But it was sort of one of those things where I thought long and hard about it, because I was sort of left that rugby bubble, but I was still sort of had one foot in it when I was living with the lads, and like, I loved them, and I wish I could live with them, but it just made sense. I'm able to work from home, and
kind of tormenting sense. A little bit too. The lads are going off to training, coming back from matches, and you're thinking,
no, but they're understanding guys, like, but it's just for my own headspace, I suppose. It was sort of like, look, that chapter in my life has ended. It's happily, I don't want it to turn in any way sour, and you know, I you know, I'll call into them now on the way home and stuff like that. Like, so there's no real difference there. We're still best mates. So.
And I'm sure that's going to be your experience with the people who you soldier with all the way up to this point.
Yeah, for sure.
That team bond is really strong. Can you take us back to the injuries at the start? Like, you did. So was the left hamstring was the one that did in the end, or
the left hamstring was the one that?
But you tore the right hamstring off the bone first.
Twice, yeah. So I did that. I went in to tackle a lad against Ospreys, and I sort of dipped my head into it, and my rear end went up, and my leg kind of stayed planted on the ground, and then the force came back down through. I can't really explain it, but it was poor tackle technique, and we were playing in the Knoll in Ospreys, which is an awful pitch. Like, Mullingar pitch is much better, and then so that was a grade 4B or whatever that was, so it's tear off the bone. And then I came back, was sort of doing my own stuff over Zoom with my physio Carl, and during lockdown, because it was obviously, this was the first stage of it. That was in February 2020, so that was just coming into the start of COVID.
How long is the recovery from that?
That was 5 months,
right,
ballpark. And I came back, and literally I think the first week of training, I came back and just went to sidestep someone down in the RDS. We were prepping for pre-season, and just tore a slightly different muscle, but it was complete rupture again.
Right.
So it was obviously hanging on by a thread for whatever reason, and like even I have the video of it. It looks very innocuous, you know. So there's it didn't really make much sense. Everyone was quite baffled about that. So then
Is that another 5 months?
that's another 5 months, yeah.
Okay, so that's 10 months essentially, with a week in between where you're like, yeah, I feel great.
Yeah, and these things were getting infected as well every time as well. Like I'm a clean person. I'm not like, it's not like I'm not showering or whatever, but for whatever reason, like any surgery I've gotten, it's just gotten infected. And that I was on a drip for both times of that in hospital for about just less than a week, which was fairly nasty as well, because like obviously that takes a lot out of your body. And then obviously slows down the rehab process as well. So it was a bit of a nightmare.
At that point, are you thinking, I'm going to come back from this, I'm going to make it as a rugby player, this is all going to stand to me in the end, I'm going to be more grateful for everything?
Yeah, I was like, so like you obviously hit these peaks. So like a few years ago, I burst onto the scene and I was playing well, and I thought this, you know, it's only going to go from here, but it didn't. And you sort of, when you're in that mindset and experience that, you always are striving for more and striving to get that again. But then when obviously an injury like that comes around the first time, you know, I'm able to handle it, and it's obviously depressing and stuff like that, but like you're able to, you know, put it into context. It's a contact sport and high impact, so you're going to get injured. But then when the second one came around, you just hit a little bit lower, and then, you know, when I come back, then I'm more excited because of all the, you know, hurt before. So
10 months on from the first one, maybe even a bit longer.
Yeah,
you're back out in the field, and then you do your ACL.
Yeah, so I was then again, I was come back and like I was like, this is my time now. I've done my injuries, you know, like I'll get a fair shake here, you know, and then it just, I literally caught a ball. It was slightly behind me. I went to just check and step off my left foot, and just felt a little like, I don't really know how to describe it, just a little pop, I suppose. And I trained on for about 5 minutes, and I was like, this doesn't feel right. And I was very quiet, and I was like, I didn't really want to believe what was happening, because I like, the pain wasn't too bad, but it was reasonable pain, but not as bad as say the hamstring pain. But I was able to like walk, but I didn't have the power in it, so I strapped it up and took painkillers and went out the next day to train. And then about 20 minutes in, which is decent to get through on no ACL, I just like went to kick a ball, and it just excruciating pain, and got it scanned, and it was my ACL.
I noticed in your statement as well, when you retired, Conor, like you name checked the physio Carl Denver and Professor John Ryan as well in Leinster. Like very often underappreciated members of a backroom team as well, the medical staff. But I mean, how important, when you're going through all those injuries you mentioned, how important are those people inside a club environment, you know, in terms of even mentally getting you back up off the ground, and, you know, especially when you're getting constant injuries like yourself?
Massive, yeah. Those guys keep the show on the road, and you know, you can't appreciate them enough, because they're not you know, there's 23 lads out on a game day, but like it's much more than that. The whole operation is so much bigger. And like Carl Denver and John Ryan, like you were saying, like these guys care more about you than you nearly care about yourself, you know. Like Carl would be up you wouldn't get a night's sleep if I like didn't rehab, like, or I was feeling a bit of pain during rehab the day before. And yeah, he's just, it's unreal how much they care and want to see you like get better, because that's like their main aim of their job, I suppose. But really, like and they're good people persons as well, I suppose you could say. Like you're feeling there January morning, and it's 7 o'clock in the morning, and they're trying to get you out running and stuff, and they're able to like, you know, get you out there and put the arm around you when you need it, and kick you up the backside when you need it as well. So it's sort of, it's good relationship, and like he's a good mate of mine now after all that. The time I've spent with him, he was with me for all my 4 injuries, so we've seen enough of each other, unfortunately, on the physio bed.
When the ACL pops, like in between that period from it actually happening and you acknowledging that it happens the next day, what's gone through your head at that stage?
It's fairly dark, like, you know, because it's just like, this is why me, and you know, all these things are why does someone not get injured at all, and I'm here 3 times on surgery bed in a year, kind of thing, like, or a year, just over a year. But I suppose then, like, I have a really good support network around me. I have my best mates, I have a really good girlfriend, and my family as well. So like, I couldn't ask for better people around me. So when I was feeling low and stuff, like, people were very, very supportive. So, I mean, I could have been way worse off. And I look back and I think I see these head injuries and concussions and you know, problems like that. And I think I'm one of the lucky ones that it was only, you know, a couple of leg injuries. I'm able to walk and, you know, I can go for very slow jogs and stuff like that. So, like, I'm happy.
You seem to have a very refreshing attitude about it, because you see a lot of people retiring in their mid-20s, and Ash Barty was actually similar attitude to yourself, you know, from tennis. She was a similar age as well in her mid-20s when she hung up the racket. But it seems that attitude is so important, because I know a lot of people say, and studies have probably said, that when you're forced into retirement versus making your own mind up, it can have an impact on your mental health, of course. But it's probably all about attitude. You seem to have that aspect of it fairly sewn up.
Yeah, well, I didn't always, I suppose. Like, there was times there where I was like, had that kind of negative mindset about, like I was saying, like, why me and things like that. But I would be a big advocate on, you know, mentality and mental health and things like that. So it was sort of, you know, pick yourself up by your bootstraps, get on with it, and don't be like, kind of, you know, you need that growth mindset. People always talk about it, but it's like, look, these are setbacks, but there's a silver lining to all this. Like, I'm primed to sort of take whatever next step and excel at that, because of all the things I've learned in the setbacks and my attitude and work ethic and things like that. So, like, there's, you know, there's more positives than negatives to take from it. But, like, I mean, the last, I suppose, 2 years or a bit less maybe, like, there was obviously so many ups and downs, but, like, it wasn't enjoyable, you know. Rugby wasn't enjoyable for me because I wasn't able to play. So like, I enjoyed rugby when I'm, like, going well and I'm, you know, on top of my game, in good shape, and that just wasn't there. So, like, I struggled, especially for the last kind of season, when I knew I wasn't getting this hamstring any better, and I was going in rehabbing, and I was like, this is just not getting better, and it was quite dreary, I suppose you could say. But look, I mean, is
there anything that can fix a hamstring? Like, you know, in 3 years' time, could your hamstrings be fine?
I'm not sure, to be honest with you. Like, by right, the hamstring should be fine, but for whatever reason, the way the scar tissue healed, it just, I'm getting sort of constant pain with it. But as I said, I'm able to slowly jog on it, which is fine by me. I'm hitting the roads around Mullingar. So,
And did you, like, are you looking at the internet for all the weirdest complementary therapies it's possible to get? Like, did you go down a wormhole like that?
Well, like, you do kind of, but, like, I'd sort of be holistic approach myself. So, like, I think, you know, get your mind and body right, and your diet and things like that, and I was nailing all that. And outside of that, like, anyone I ask has their own home remedy that their granny had for them when they were younger, but nothing seems to be doing the trick just yet.
There's the horse bone man down in Kildare. Did you like those kind of
that type of thing? But nothing that has in any way interested me too much. Aside from getting another surgery on it, but, like, obviously the trauma your body goes through, like, not like mentally or whatever, but, like, just going through surgeries like that, I think, you know, you lose a lot of muscle mass and things like this. Just your body reaction to that sort of procedure is quite I wouldn't say it's too healthy getting it done the whole time.
No, definitely not.
It's slow to go back on the table.
When the hamstring isn't properly responding, in the back of your head there's a voice saying, right, this is it, you need to start planning. Is that a straightforward conversation? Do you just accept that immediately, or are you like,
no, it wasn't straightforward. No, it was completely, I was like, will I keep pushing it? Will I not? Is this for me? Is it not? You know, it's just like this constant conversation you're having in your head. And I was talking to so many different people that I trusted, and I know I wanted their counsel from, you know, the situation. What do you think I should do? And then ultimately the question is, like, what's good for me, and what do I want to do? So when I answered that question, it was like, it was relatively easier, because I was saying, I wasn't enjoying myself playing rugby, or you know, rehabbing in Leinster, so that made it slightly easier, because I was able to sort of step away from it with a little bit more ease, I suppose you could say, than if I was like, this came at a time when I was, you know, playing for Ireland or something like that it would have been much harder, because I was, like, very much in the mix, but I hadn't experienced that in so long, over 2 years, that it was slightly easier. But again, I was forced into the decision as well. So, and the fact of the previous number of injuries as well, it's sort of, I don't believe in, you know, wishy-washy things, but, like, the universe sometimes might tell you something, and in this case, I think it
after
gave
2
me enough
years, you had
signs.
enough. Can we go back to, like, when you're breaking through, because your story, it's not unique anymore, but it's still not the norm, where you've got a GAA background and have come through not the traditional Leinster school system. What was your route to getting into the Leinster Academy?
So as you were saying, I played at Mullingar rather than, most of the lads in there would have played schools rugby. So my school didn't really play rugby, so it was like Gaelic football, hurling, and then rugby I'd say after school on a Tuesday and a Thursday, and play on the weekend. So
you played underage GAA for Westmeath. Was it hurling and football, or?
Yeah, I played both, but I played minor football. I sort of kept football going a little bit longer.
Right.
So played a couple of years of minor football, and then I sort of like when they got to, remember I was saying the sub academy at around 19, I sort of was like,
how do you even get into the sub academy though? How do they find you?
You play, so the club scene starts at about under 16s. There's the Shane Horgan Cup, which is regions of around Leinster, and so I was on the Midlands region, which was made up of Mullingar, Longford, Birr, Tullamore.
Okay.
Roscrea, I think, I'm not 100% sure. And they so we play against other like Northeast, Metro, Southeast, and they're all in a competition, play each other once, and then the top wins it, and then from that you get picked for Leinster clubs. So then Leinster clubs was Irish clubs, so I had 2 years of that.
Right.
And then Leinster and Ireland under 19s, 20s,
And is somebody at that stage saying to you, here, listen, you've got the profile, you might be able to make it as a rugby player?
Yeah. Well, I was always very self-critical of myself and quite, hard on myself in terms of performance, and I'd always be, beating myself up if I made a mistake, couple of mistakes, things like that. So like I got a lot of, you're good enough, and just trust your ability and things like that, and don't be, get the right mindset sort of thing. So I did hear a lot of that, and then it sort of slows down as you're getting on and on, because like obviously you're getting older and older, and it's like, well, maybe you don't have this massive future ahead of you, sort of thing. So it's nice to hear when you're younger and stuff, and I needed a lot of those pick me up sort of things. So.
And when they ring you and say, look, we've got a Leinster sub academy position for you, what's that like?
Just the conversation is sort of like, it was Wayne Mitchell at the time was the academy coach in Leinster, and he was like, we'd like to give you a sub academy, and I was like, brilliant, but it was not brilliant when you're doing it, because it's 7 o'clock gym sessions every week, every day of the week, followed by a pitch session before college, so it's like
hard work.
Well, I did 2 years of that, so most people just do a year. So I didn't do TY, so I was like slightly younger than some of the other guys going into college.
Did you not do TY because you wanted to be a professional rugby player, or was that?
No, just the school didn't have TY.
Okay, right. Fair enough.
So
yeah.
I got into the sub academy, and then did 2 years.
And you're in college at that stage, so
yes,
right.
That was when I was in Trinity, and then I was living in Clontarf, so it was sort of the dart line there.
Yeah.
From Harmonstown down was being used a lot by me.
And so, sorry about this, but so you're getting up every day at 7 o'clock to go to training out in
Donnybrook.
In
So
Donnybrook.
I get the dart from Harmonstown to Sandymount, and then walk from Sandymount to Donnybrook, which is a decent. Now in the middle of winter, it is fairly tough.
Yeah, to go and like lift weights and be shouted at. And
yeah,
then,
and I wouldn't really be a massive lover of the gym either. So I've sort of taken my sabbatical from weightlifting since I've stopped. I'm doing the odd circuit and stuff, but I'm not even going for PRs on the bench.
And then you go into college to do it.
Then I'm going to college.
Right. Okay.
Most of the time. I didn't go in all the time.
Okay, I was going to say, you'd be a bit wrecked.
I mostly go back and sleep on the couch. But
and then a second year of that, you're like...
Yeah, second year, that was tough now, yeah.
You really have to want it to keep going.
Yeah.
And are they saying, we're going to keep you for second year because we think you're going to make the academy, we just need to...
Yeah, it's sort of like you're in a bit of limbo. Like I would have been probably not good enough to get into the academy straight away. I would have been not very out of my depth, but I would have been out of my depth. And it worked because I did another year in sub academy, and I was coming into that under 20 season with Leinster in like I played pre-season with Mullingar Shamrocks, and I was flying fit, and
right.
I came back in and had quite a good pre-season with the Leinster 20s. We didn't play as well in the Interpros, but we didn't even win it, but that sort of led into the Irish 20s then.
Okay, so you got selected for the Ireland
yes,
under 20s, and that's World Cup year, is that right?
That's the World Cup year, yeah, with Manchester that year. So
right.
It was it would have been 2016 in Manchester. So.
And you're getting game time for Ireland?
Yeah. So we had the Six Nations, and I didn't get started the first few games. It was Shane Daly and Jimmy O'Brien in the centre, so I came off the bench against Wales and whoever else we played. I think I started the rest of the games then in the Six Nations and the World Cup. So,
right.
it was a bit of a slow start, but yeah, we obviously had that away win in England against England in the Six Nations, which was a massive win. My whole family was there and very emotional, like beating England, because we were obviously underdogs as well.
Yeah. And then that team goes on and beats the All Blacks.
Yeah, so then obviously in May or whenever it was, went over to Manchester for the World Cup and got to the final. So yeah, beat the All Blacks, obviously very historic day. And yeah, you just don't even like thinking back, like it's such a, you think this is going to be it now for the rest of my life sort of thing. Like, so
I'm sure
like I rarely hit that sort of high again.
But you do start to believe that you're in the right position, that like, whatever you know, whatever about not coming through the same route as everybody else, you've justified your path to get there.
Yeah, I mean, it's it was sort of like, because you're playing in front of pretty much sold out. Now the stadiums were small. It was in the Manchester City Academy Stadium and then the AJ Bell as well. So like they weren't massive stadiums, but like that was your first sort of glimpse of, you know, the limelight, you could say, because we got a lot of media traction over here.
Oh, totally, yeah.
So
who else is on the team?
Max Deegan, James Ryan. There's loads of Andrew Porter. They're all like kind of the Leinster lads. Jimmy O'Brien.
Yeah.
Will Connors was injured for the World Cup, but who else? Hugo Keenan.
Not a bad team.
It was a good team. Yeah. We were we went under the radar a little bit, like the year before and a couple of years before. Like teams were sort of had really big names. Now there was big names in our team, but for whatever reason they just kind of wrote us off a little bit after the Six Nations. So we were losing at half time to Wales by it must have been around 20 points. I'm not 100% sure of the stats, and then we came back and beat Wales, and Wales had won either the Grand Slam or just the Six Nations. I'm not 100% sure if they went unbeaten, and we came and beat them, and that was like a shock. These lads were walking around like, you know, the best, and we beat them, and that completely like turned it around, because at halftime we were like, we're going to lose to Wales, we're probably going to lose to the All Blacks, and whatever happens against Georgia happens. But we beat them, and then they went on. We went and topped the group. We went unbeaten until the final, beat Argentina in the semis. So it was that all changed from that half time in the first game.
And did that change your life then as well, in terms of like what the expectation was from you when you came back as somebody who could have an impact at that level in that team?
I suppose it did, like, because I was playing adult rugby at the time with Clontarf, so that definitely primed me a bit more, because I'm playing against these lads and I'm like, these lads are like 10 kilos lighter than the lads I'm playing against.
Right.
With Clontarf, like I was playing against good like Lansdowne players, you know, Ternier, Marys, the works, like, so it was like I was playing against lads and I was like, you know, this is not as hard as what I've been playing over in Ireland. So now this was at the World Cup, and you know, just things started clicking for everyone, it seemed like, and it just was unreal. And
so when you come back from that, how close are you to getting into, are you still in academy at that stage? Have you got a full-time professional contract with Leinster?
No, I would have known like a few months before the World Cup that I was in the Leinster Academy. So I was sat down by, I think it was Ger and Dempsey at the time, and being like, we'd love to offer you an academy place.
Right.
So that's 3 years. And so then we went to the World Cup and then got 2 weeks off and came back, and that was the start of my Leinster career in the Leinster building in UCD.
Right, because that's what happens. You get into the full team first. And how close are the academy players? Do they often get called up for league matches?
Well, like, it wasn't the norm, but it is kind of now that, you know, I wouldn't say lads would be going in with a goal in first year academy to be playing a league game, but like, it definitely happens. So it's not like completely unheard of, but like
how long did it take you to play league?
I think I was in my second year. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, could have been. Yeah, I think it was second year. Could have been the end of my first year, but I'm not 100%.
Okay, so very much on target and like a little bit ahead of schedule. So and you're playing centre.
Centre, yeah, 12 and 13, but just 12 Leinster. For whatever reason, I sort of bulked up a little bit in that after the World Cup, so I was just kind of more of a 12 than a 13.
Okay,
I was playing out half for a good bit of my under 18 career with Leinster and Ireland, and then they just kind of saw me as a centre from there. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah. Did you have a conversation about that, or was that just?
No, I never did actually. Probably should have.
Right, in retrospect.
They always saw me as this big, you know, ball carrying centre, but like, I would have seen it as slightly different in my own head, you know. But that sort of like.
Well, that's good to know. Yeah. And at that stage, you feel like, I'm going to play for the Ireland senior team. I've been
Well,
part of this.
that'd be a goal. Like, you wouldn't be going around saying it around
No,
the
of
building,
course,
like,
but it's realistic.
Well, like, you see the path that the people ahead of you have taken, and it's like, yeah, I can do it. Like, I probably didn't believe how close ability-wise we were back then to the senior guys. Now looking back on it, I'm like, I look at the academy lads and I'm like, these guys are like maybe a couple of % off in terms of like maybe their mindset and their physique, but other than that, it's like the skills are pretty much all there, and there's not a million miles. And I think if just they could, like, and myself included back then, if I could have just believed that you are good enough and like you're not far off at all when you first step into the academy, unless of course there's certain players that are way off, but not way off, but
well, they wouldn't have taken you unless
exactly. So like, you're usually getting the cream of the crop going into the academy and stuff, and then there's guys then as well, like Rowan Osborne, say he actually retired this year with concussion, so but he like didn't get into the academy and then did his full college experience, played with Trinity at the time, and then he got into Leinster offered him a contract at the end of that because of how well he was playing. So like, there is different avenues as well. You don't have to do 3 years in the academy and 2 years development and things like that anymore. It's sort of, if you're good enough, they'll find you.
I'm just looking at Conor, you 2013 you were on the Westmeath minor team that played Mayo.
Yes,
like
in O'Connor Park, yeah.
If you look at the Mayo team from that day, like Conor Loftus, Tommy Conroy, Stephen Cohen, Cian Hanley was on it as well, Matthew Ruan was on the bench. Like
Dermot O'Connor, I was marking Dermot O'Connor.
You were marking him?
I was marking him, yeah, he was tough. It was tough.
Is that a sliding doors moment for you, like trying to choose between, when you're playing sport, a multitude of sports at a high level, was it a sliding doors moment choosing which sport to
it was
with?
a bit. The crux of it was the professional element of rugby. Like, the money's good at the top and it's good to aim for, whereas in GAA it's slightly different. Like, you might get a good job at, like, about who you know, you might get a good job in Dublin, or sort it out with expenses, things like that. But I'm a GAA man through and through. Like, that's my number one, like it always has been. So it was a tough decision, because if football was football, especially if football was professional, like, I would have picked football probably. Like,
you'll be spending more time in Cusack Park than the RDS now then?
Probably, yeah. But at the same time, like, I wouldn't watch too much rugby outside of playing it. So like, since I've stopped playing, like, I'd watch the odd game, and then like any game the lads are playing in with Leinster and stuff, I'd watch that. But
do you think that'll change in time, that you might be able to watch it a bit easier? Or is that?
It's not really that, like, I don't. I'm salty about it anyway. It's just sort of like I never really watched too much of it outside of playing it. That's sort of it. Like, I like watching soccer. I like watching football, hurling, a bit of F1 after watching Drive to Survive. I think the whole country does that. The whole world does that. But other than that, like, I wouldn't stick on rugby to chill.
How close to the Leinster first team do you feel you got, like, for the big games?
Pretty far away, further away than I would have liked to have been. Like, the sort of the playing squad, or the main squad, is, I like to call it, the sort of 25 or 30 lads that are like in thereabouts. I was sort of never in that circle, so sort of like, now when I say a circle, I mean, like, I was still like in the circle, but not, I was looking in from the outside in terms of playing. So I never quite reached that stage, because when I was playing that time, like the run of games a few years ago, I was still in the academy and stuff. So like, it's like it is sort of one big happy family in there. But at the same time, like, if you're in the academy, like, you're in like the further dressing room and stuff like that. But like, it is integrated well, like way better than most other professional environments I've heard of anyway. So it's just obviously going to be a slight different. You're younger, they don't know you as well and things like that.
So it takes a bit of time to get the trust and to get those. And how realistic would it have been, do you think, to play Champions Cup? Were you maybe 18 months away from that?
Like if I kept going the way I was going, and then maybe the season after, maybe like that could have been a possibility. Like, I think
the competition must be incredibly cutthroat.
Yeah, it's tough. Like,
you had 60
Robbie,
players last year.
Yeah, like the centres were all internationals, like, so Robbie and Gary and Joe Tamani was there at the time. I know they've Charlie Natai now, and then like lads coming up, you've like, Liam Turner, David Hawkshaw's centre. He's at Connacht now, obviously. So there's a plethora of every position, and they're all nearly internationals, like 4 deep. So it's a cutthroat, as you're saying.
Well, listen, we wish you the very best of luck.
Appreciate it.
You seem to reacclimatise to civilian life quite well.
Yeah, enjoying it. I'm enjoying all the freedom. I'm like
more ice baths.
Are you with Niall Horan and Lewis Capaldi at the
yeah.
Fla?
I didn't meet them now, but I saw plenty of pictures. I think everyone has a picture on their wall there. So, no, it's good. I'm enjoying life. So,
well, we wish you the very best. Thanks so much for joining us
Cheers,
in the
lads.
studio today. It's Conor O'Brien.